Okay, I use OBS Studio to present, and what that allows us to do is it allows me to go back and forth between a lot of windows and put little things like I can put my face up there and stuff like that. All very nice. But because I'm not in presentation mode, this is the default view, which is cool because we can see all of you, but you can't see us. If you look at what I'm, and let me present everything. Okay, so you can see all of us sitting there, right? And I can see all your little non-faces. And just in case you're kind of new to this, you probably already know this, but I can come up here and I can click on layout, and I can set this to focus, for example, and then I can pick by clicking on this lock for whomever I want to focus on. And I can do it for just me or for everybody. And I am going to set this right now to be just for me. And you see, Stephen said something or did something and it moved to him. So sometimes that works and sometimes it just doesn't stick. But you have the ability to do that for yourself. So you can come in here and click on it and set it up for you. So if you run into problems, just go in and do that, and then you'll be able to see my slides, and we will all get along better. So I'm going to pop that off now, and I'm going to go back to the top on this. And I am going to maximize my screen. And that was just my little public comment to make this run as well as we can. And after that, I'm going to turn it over.
I believe I have the first couple of slides, so...
I have to be in the right window to click. There we go.
Yep, nice. I'd like to welcome everybody to another semester of RCOS if you're a returning member. And to everybody who is joining us for the first time, welcome to the Rensselaer Center for Open Source. So the first question, I suppose, is what exactly is RCOS, which we will address on the next slide. So what we are, beep.
Ah, sorry, you got a beep.
Sorry.
I was reading the comments in the chat just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
You're fine. So we are the Rensselaer Center for Open Source, and our mission is to provide a creative, intellectual, and entrepreneurial outlet for students to use the latest open source software platforms to develop applications that solve societal problems. We are an organization that is dedicated to the creation of and promotion of open source software, and I suppose in general, anything else open source. So, yep. So,
sorry, yeah, a brief frequently asked questions list. Note at the start the link at the bottom to the RCOS Handbook. We'll be announcing that a little bit later on. But very briefly, who can participate? Anyone at RPI can. It's open source after all, and we'll define that in a moment. And this means even technically when you're not an enrolled RPI student, you can contribute to projects because they're not RPI projects, they're open source projects. What do we do? Simply put, you work on an open source project throughout the semester. Either you run your own or you join a team, and you do it for either 3 or 4 credits or just experience. And when do we meet? We have the course meetings, which are Tuesdays and Fridays at this time. They're in your calendar, I think, until like 6:35 or something around that, but meetings probably won't take that long. And afterwards, when you have teams, in about a week or so, you'll be meeting with your teams at times that work for you. So again, check out the full FAQ on the handbook. Beep. Now, introduction to the whole team. So I guess Professor first, and then we'll go through the coordinators with some new coordinators, by the way.
Okay, give me just a second here. I just turned my face off. Hi. So I'm me. I'm Professor Turner. I'm not sure if we have Professor Goldschmidt here or not. I should have reached out to him ahead of time and found out. But I'm the director of RCOS, and I'm along for the ride. So you guys need to run this right so I look good. Let me see. Can I make... Oops. There we go. Somewhere in here there is a window that would let me show you guys, show the rest of everybody, assuming they have their cameras on. There we are. This thing's being a pain. Sorry about that. I am out of practice. This will go more smoothly once. There's Frank. Let's see. Antonia, one of our new coordinators. Oops. Frank again. Olivia. And why does it keep going to you, Frank? Let's see.
Sounds like favoritism.
I think so too. Hunter?
I don't have a camera, so.
Hunter looks a lot like the Great Outdoors, but not right now. I can click on Steven as well, but again, as Steven says, he looks a lot like some stylized swoosh, if I'm not
It's a
mistaken.
circle and some stripes.
I call that stylized. I think that's good. So anyway, that's what they all look like. If you see them in person, Hunter and Hunter blends into the background in an outdoor scene. And apparently Steven looks like a piece of art. But everybody else looks like people. All right. I'm going to pop this down again and move on.
Great. So we'll move on to the history of RCOS. I think that is you, Professor.
Let's see. That is, in fact, me. So back in 2006, Sean O'Sullivan, he was actually graduated in my class of 85. He donated $2 million to RPI to start up RCOS, essentially. And it started off as a very small group. I think the first few years it was like 5 to 10 students. They were working under Frank Luck, who was the director at the time, the head of the department slightly before that. 2007, Frank Luck left in about 2007, so I assume that's why that changed. Badri Roysam, who was out of, I believe, electrical engineering, and Professor Krishnamurthy became co-directors. Professor Roysam left for the University of Houston, I think it is, someplace in Texas. So Professor Krishnamurthy picked it up, and he and David Goldschmidt were co-directors until 2016. And then 2017, Professor Krishnamurthy decided to retire, but we wouldn't let him go. So we got him down there for a few more years. And I became the director along with Professor Goldschmidt in 2018 after he officially retired. Professor Murthy in about 2015 brought in some money from Red Hat. They did a lot, including revamping the open source software course that some of you are taking, or allowed us money to revamp the course and get some things done. Sorry about this. There's a humming going on that I'm trying to isolate. Well, I'll work on that. Anyway, so that's kind of brings us to today. We no longer have RCOS funding or Red Hat funding. They were bought out by IBM, and they switched their focus a little bit, not from open source, but to different types of funding. But we are in good shape. We have transitioned from a largely per pay. Back in the early days, it was almost everybody was doing projects for pay to a credit-based system. I think that most of you enjoy that because we can have you doing projects for course credit, get you closer to your graduations. Yeah, I keep promising to work this out, and I was just talking to the coordinators today about trying to get some numbers on this. Up through fall 2018, we had over 2,000 students, almost 2,200 students, and we had about 816 projects. And this is, if you look down here, it started out really small, and then it's just kind of ballooned. Now we're almost always in the 100 to 200 range. I think this semester right now in this room, we have like 130 something students, 132 students or 132 people. So, we've got a good group this semester, and, I look forward to continuing on. I'll get some updated numbers hopefully by the next couple of meetings, but we're finding out some of the limits of our database. We're not actually able to pull out these numbers very well. I do want to point out one thing. Sevi was one of the coordinators back when I first started with RCOS, and he has a really good article. I'm not going to read it to you, but he published this back in 2018 in Medium, and it's a really good article. It talks about the early days of RCOS. This is when we're starting to get big, right? You can see that we're no longer 5 students. This is what we normally look like if we were back on campus in our normal settings. I believe that's Adrian Collada. And, just read through it. It kind of tells you a lot about how RCOS works and a lot about what's actually, what you can expect from RCOS. Stephen?
All right. So I'm going to talk about some notable past projects that we've had in RCOS over the years. So next slide. The first, of course, being Submittee, which was started by Professor Barb Cutler in several years ago, and is now a very big part of the CS curriculum here on campus, with a lot of different classes using Submittee for their grading. So if you're new to RPI, get used to this thing because you're going to see it a lot. It's a mainstay of the CS program here. So beep. The Shuttle Tracker is also a really useful one if you live in some of the slightly farther away dorms. Keeps track of all the different shuttles. This has been a really interesting project over the years due to how closely they worked with the university itself. And it's very handy. I used it quite a lot last year. All right, beep. Venue. So this is a project that we will be using in RCOS quite a bit as well for keeping track of attendances and classroom management. Its relevance has skyrocketed in the age of COVID. Lots of interesting and cool features. This project's been going for quite a while. Beep. Open circuits. So this one was started by Leon, and I think he's still around these days, and has been one of our best projects over the years in terms of how much they've gotten done and how close they've gotten to a real like production ready kind of project. Open circuits is really cool. If you're into electrical engineering and circuit design, it's actually fantastic and approaching being on par with some professional grade tools. Then next. So this is a project that we want to point out because they're actually looking for a bit of help. They have a survey for what kind of housing you're in right now, and they are looking to categorize the different housing types. So they would be very helpful for them if you could fill out the survey quickly and help them get along or even join the project. And I think that's all we had on past projects.
Okay. So we've mentioned open source quite a lot, and I'm sure if you're a returning RCOS member, that's very familiar term to you. But just to reiterate, RCOS is an affiliate member of the Open Source Initiative. The Open Source Initiative is the global group that defines or gives the standard definition of open source. They have a long history of advocacy and education for open source, and RCOS is lucky enough to be considered as a member. And what that means for us is RCOS has been recognized as an organization that's committed to publicly supporting open source and the role that the Open Source Initiative plays. So that's been a pretty great thing to be a part of. So the official open source definition is actually, it's pretty long. So there's a link directly to it. It has about 10 points, I believe. And something important to note, it does not just mean access to the source code. So just because you can, your code has a source code available, doesn't necessarily make it open source. So definitely check out that long definition if you get the chance. Of course, we have explanations when we get to it of how you can ensure that your RCOS project is open source by choosing the right license. And now to the course requirements. Oh, we can't hear you, Professor.
Okay, so RCOS is a course, and we don't like to talk about it, but we do need to give you grades. So we'll go over this now, and we will also go over it a couple of times during the semester just to make sure that everything kind of sticks. There are 4 grading criteria. The first is 50%, half your grade is your open source contributions. Now, most people, when they think of open source contributions, they like to think of it as code. Code is certainly a big part of open source contributions, but there are other types of open source contributions that you can make. As you get into the semester, if you find you're in a mode where you are unable to contribute code, either because you're learning a new technology or you're having problems with your install process or whatever it is, don't wait. Come and talk to us. There are other alternatives for making open source contributions, and we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to make those. We can help you out. In fact, documentation is part of what makes open source communities vital and useful. So, if you're having problems with, for example, the installation process, documenting the steps you took and rewriting the installation document and posting that as a contribution is perfectly acceptable and valid and would help the project out a lot. So, this is important. You need to be on the order making 2 or so commits per week, meaningful commits per week. So, you should be, from the time we get your projects going forward, maybe about the 3rd week of the semester, you should be starting to look towards getting some contributions. So just come and talk to us if you're having problems. Don't worry if a couple weeks pass by, but don't let a lot of time pass by. You will be doing status updates. Status updates don't count as open source contributions, even if you make them public, but they can be the basis for your open source contributions if you're discovering things about your system, like how to install things better. You can say, I made something better. I fixed this install problem in the status update, and then post the solution in a document along with the project. That's worth about 25% of your grade. I think we drop 4 per semester. I got to count how many weeks there are. But we'll start doing those about week 3 or so. And you will be responsible for making a status update every week on a Friday. You can miss 4. they won't count against you, but you do need to make sure that you get in a decent number of status updates. They should explain what you did that week in about a paragraph, not a one sentence, not a 2 sentence, 3 or 4 sentences explaining concisely and clearly what you did, 3 or 4 sentences explaining what you want to do the next week. And then you need to have a section for blockers, things that are getting in your way, and a section for links to contributions you've made, open source contributions that we can see out in the wild that you can make. The last 2 sections can be blank, but you need to have the last sections. We want to make sure that you're thinking about these and actually filling out the form as we go. The final 10% is attendance. We won't take attendance today. I intend to start taking attendance next Tuesday. So this is kind of a free ride week. There's too many people signing in and signing out to worry about it this week. But you are allowed to miss 2 classes during the semester. You can make up another 2 by attending a bonus session, and then you have to attend bonus sessions along the way as well. So if we come down, right, these are all given in the rubric.
Just to add to that, each of these categories has its own specific, there you go, guidelines page, where you can see even the more details at the top.
Okay, so bonus sessions are casual coding sessions, and we accept a lot of different things. Hackathons, attendance at conferences, things like that can all count depending on what you do. Attendance does include 1 mandatory workshop session. This can either be giving if you're experienced or attending if you're not. Anyway, that's kind of where we sit on that. The grading rubric explains this in pretty good detail. It has changed. We just migrated from a PDF to an online wiki, so I am finding it a little harder to find things, but we're getting there. This is how the semester looks. We are in this first initial stage, right? We're talking to you now. We're telling you what RCOS is about. We will be pitching projects starting on Friday, so please be here on Friday. We have a number of really interesting external projects that'll be available for you to join with mentors from like the real world. I think the Free Software Foundation is pitching one. I have a friend of mine from Teaching Open Source who's pitching Open Energy Dashboard. So an open source project to allow you to measure your energy usage, and they're extending that to right now I think it's electricity, but they're extending it to other resources. We have a couple other people that have contacted me as well. So we have a lot of interesting projects this semester. We have a lot of projects focused on testing, which is a really interesting and important topic in open source software, actually testing your software. So show up Friday, show up next Tuesday, and hopefully by the end of next week, we will be through this initial project definition, and you'll all have projects that you're working on. From that point until sometime in the middle of March, we will be in what we call execute on project stage. This is normal time. We want you to work on your projects and make contributions, attend bonus sessions, give bonus sessions. We'll still have our meetings every day. Every Tuesday and Friday, we'll meet for generally about 15 to 20 minutes where we give you all the information on what's going on, different bonus sessions you can attend, where you should be in your project, etc. And then we'll kind of dismiss you to go off and work in your small groups for an hour and a half, some reasonable amount of time so that you can coordinate and plan what you're going to do for the week. When we hit about mid-March, we could enter a wrap-up period. The wrap-up period, you continue working on your projects, but we will take a fifth of you for 5 straight classes or so. We'll take about a fifth of the class, and we'll have you present your projects. You'll tell us what you did. You'll tell us what you tried to do. You'll tell us what's really cool. You'll hopefully give us a cool little demo. You'll talk about how your project is organized to as an open source community, how you're operating, what artifacts you generated to help yourself execute and form a community.
Okay. You've seen us post and mention the handbook many, many times. If you were an RCOS member years ago, you might have heard of it a bit, but the past few semesters, it's kind of fallen out of use. So we made a big effort in the months and weeks leading up to this semester to totally revamp it. And we're now using it as the single source of truth for all things RCOS. We may switch platforms in the future, but we are attempting to have one single location where you can go for answers on the syllabus, for grading, documentation, the code of conduct, documentation for new leads, specifically, we've been working on that as well, and much, much more. Check it out first if you have a general course question, and if you ever find issues in that handbook or incorrect information or anything, please let us know. It's very much a living document, and we want to keep that as up to date and useful for new and old members as we possibly can. And also on a note of exciting new things, next slide, please. We have an experimental RCOS calendar. So we're working on a lot of infrastructure stuff and centralizing things, and one of those things is being able to dynamically generate a meeting calendar. That was something that was asked a lot. We previously had, I think, a Google Sheets for this, which wasn't the easiest to maintain. So if you head on over to the handbook, under the meetings section on the nav bar on calendar, you'll be able to see a calendar. Hopefully it's working right now. I'll first give a disclaimer. If meetings are not there or things look weird there, don't necessarily trust it. So for example, if there's a meeting on the calendar missing for a specific Friday, you can please still come to class. There's going to be meetings unless otherwise noted on their other means of communication. Give feedback on this, check it out. It should list meeting titles and times and even an agenda and links to the slides and joining the meetings and all that. So we'll be working on that as well throughout the semester. Okay, and now on to a little more detail for the different sections of the semester. Next slide.
So I'm Nia. In case you don't know me, I'm one of the coordinators this semester. The first part of the semester will be the initial project definition. This takes up about the first 2 weeks of the semester, and it will consist of project pitches, where members interested in running a project and being a project manager will have a slide and will pitch their project to the membership of RCOS on this Friday and the following Tuesday. And then after that, there's project pairing, where members will join projects that have been pitched, and hopefully we eventually will have everyone all matched up to the project they're going to work on for the semester. Everyone should pick a project by Friday the 5th of February and then begin writing a proposal for that project for the semester. Beep. The bulk of the semester, the middle part, is executing on the project. We will open each meeting with a review of the current status of RCOS and any workshops or bonus sessions happening, around that time. And then you will meet with your project group for about an hour and a half. After meeting with them, you can verify your attendance using Venue. You can also view the video asynchronously within 24 hours of the class time. I don't know if we're also using Submittee for attendance this semester.
Yes, we'll be just in case. We always have Submittee as a backup.
Okay. But yeah, so Venue and then as a backup Submittee if Venue isn't working. Beep. And then the last 3 to 4 weeks of the semester will be a wrap-up period. You can continue working on your projects and preparing for the final presentation. The purpose of the final presentation is to summarize what you planned, what work you did you achieve your goals for this semester, and what the future of your project is, if you're going to come back to it next semester, or if you're going to kind of redefine the goals of the project or how it's going to move forward. More details will be provided on the requirements for these presentations as we near the end of the semester. Beep. So what's changed since fall? We are in the middle of migrating infrastructure to a central database and API. You might get to test some of these exciting technologies this semester. We have a testers channel on the Discord, and reach out to one of us if you want to become a tester. For now, status updates and attendances are going to remain the same as they were last semester. Beep.
So for communication, as was mentioned, we use Discord. We're attempting to use only Discord going forward to make it easier for everyone. If that is a serious if you, reach out to us. We'll figure out what to do. Otherwise, if you were not on the Discord server already, please hop on. If another coordinator can, thank you, Olivia. Joining the Discord server is not just joining the invite link, it's going through a portal that has you log in with CAS, so that we connect your CAS with your Discord account. And this is just so that we can automatically set your nickname to be your real name, so we're not confused on who is who, and also helps mentors and coordinators figure out who somebody is instead of just having a random username to go off of. If anything changes with your name later on, you can reach out and we can change your nickname for you. Note on the right, just a list of some important channels. The Spring 2021 channel, that's the general discussion channel. We have announcements. I think you can subscribe to that in your own Discord servers if you'd like. Help desk is for general questions about RCOS and how the semester's going, or really anything at all. We get lots of opportunities from RCOS and even external to RCOS posted in the opportunities channel. And generally for things that we ask you to submit, like project pitches and slides, we have channels for those as well. And thanks to centralizing all of our stuff in one place, once projects are chosen and teams are formed and all that, we automatically create all the required channels and categories and stuff on the Discord server and apply roles to everyone, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Just please make sure you are on that server. Beep.
Alrighty, so I'm Hunter, and I'll be covering the next couple slides, starting off with how do you get credit for RCOS. So, put pretty simply, you can take RCOS for 3 or 4 free elective credits. In the past, I know you could do 1 or 2. I don't know that we're doing that anymore this semester, but for the most part, you're going to want to do 3 or 4 credits. The CRNs are listed there if you're not already registered, but I imagine most people here already are registered. But if you're not, you still have a couple of weeks, I think, before the ad deadline closes. So just whenever you get around to it, the sooner the better. And then if you want to take it for fewer credits, actually, there you go. You can reach out to one of our advisors, like, say, Professor Turner, and he can hopefully get you sorted out with that. But generally, you'll want to do the 3 or 4. All right, next slide. All right, so then also, if you don't want to take RCOS credit, you do not have to. So you're perfectly welcome to do it for 0 credits, just say to get experience, or say you maybe took 21 credits already this semester and you don't have any more room. You can totally just do it for fun. You're definitely not needed to do for credit. And then if you don't do it for credit, then you are also under no obligation to do any of the other like attendance or status updates or other submissions that you normally would, just because obviously then no one really cares. If you're doing it for experience, you can basically do whatever you'd like as long as you're not disruptive, I guess. And then next slide. All right, as for what's happening next class. So if you are an existing project, you're going to want to send in a pitch slide. If you're an existing project, you've probably already done this, so that's hopefully pretty familiar, but there's always the guidelines in the updated handbook now, so you can make sure you got everything that you need. We definitely know who you are and generally have a pretty good idea of what projects are going to be coming back. So we're definitely going to be looking for those slides in the pitches channel 24 hours in advance. So you got a little bit of time to prep that up, but definitely get on that as soon as you can. As for potential new projects, you're going to want to look through the RCOS.io website, and then there you can find basically a big list of like what projects we already have. And then you can hopefully try to look and see if something you want to do already exists. But if not, then you could then create your own project. So if you're in that situation, pretty much you just have to start trying to figure out what you want to do and try to formulate one of those pitch slides as well. But that you have a little bit more time for. Just try to aim for by Tuesday. Next slide. Before we continue, I saw a comment in chat. Do the 0 credits still show up in your transcript? If you're just doing for 0 credits, you don't even have to register. You just have to show up. So I don't think you can register for 0 credits even. So just, I would say generally no, it will not show up in your transcript. But moving on, so we now also have a call for mentors. So mentors are a very important part of RCOS, and they're generally people that you can go to and ask for help, or just really kind of get some advice about open source or just working on your project or anything like that. Doing so requires a lot of mentors, so we generally want to get as many as we can. So that way, especially like in a remote semester, you want to like have enough people to handle all the questions. So if you were a previous mentor or have been doing RCOS for a while now, definitely please consider becoming a mentor. We are super useful, definitely having mentors. And then also look in the announcements channel for a little bit more details on that. Next slide. All right, and lastly, submitting attendance. So attendance will be taken through Venue or Submittee is our current plan, but this process is still being finalized. As of today, though, you do not have to submit any attendance. Attendance will start being taken next week, and then this will be explained a little bit more in the upcoming days as well. So you don't have to worry about that for now. And I don't know, that's as far as I can tell, that's all the slides we got.
I think that's it, yeah. Okay, let's look at through the questions that are up there. Do we have materials for this class? No, not really. The issue with this class is that until you know your project, you don't know the technologies that you'll need. The handbook is pretty much the guiding principles for what we want to do, particularly with the rubric. So, take a look at that for how we're going to grade. As far as what you need, what materials you need, that's going to depend on the project you are looking for. And it will probably require you to do a little research online to find tutorials or documents or other things you need. We do have a lot of people here who can help. All of the mentors and coordinators, we will pair you up or we will match you with, I think we generally try to have 2 to 4 projects per mentor. So there will be help, but there's no specific material needed. It's, really developing code in the real world as much as we can.
And to add on to that, we are trying to put together a little section on the handbook for getting started, any kind of general suggestions for what you might want to get, even in terms of software. So if you look at the handbook, you'll see under getting started, there's a what you'll need page, and that'll just give you ideas like what code editors and how to install Git and how to learn Git, choosing an operating system and all that. But as Professor said, once you figure out a project that interests you, it's going to be a lot based on that. Oh, and to double the call for mentors, we really need mentors. So if you care about RCOS and you've been here for a little while, please offer to become a mentor. It's really not that big of a workload compared to a normal RCOS semester as a project lead or a project member. You can be a mentor and a project lead at the same time and a mentor and a project member. there's no trouble, and they're just very important in a remote semester where we don't really see anyone face to face. So mentors are really vital in giving us a sense of how RCOS is going and keeping some sort of communication between projects.
To add on to that, some of the things that mentors do is they'll generally assist with grading, like status updates and the mid-year and end-year reviews. They will also generally have a couple different small groups that they'll keep an eye on and specifically be available to for asking questions. That's pretty much most of what mentors do. So it's not a huge commitment, but it is definitely very helpful when it comes to all that.
Okay, there are
Yes.
2 more questions that I think I want to take a crack at. Level of coding experience should be for this course. It's variable. There are, I think, as was mentioned in the comment, there are projects that welcome, people with limited coding experience. We also welcome people from other disciplines. We've had some really great luck getting some GUI, some UI UX type of people in and working with multiple projects. So we do, and we've had physics majors come in. We've had a number of people come in from outside of CS. So coding is not the only thing you can do on RCOS. That said, in general, we like you to have data structures. It does kind of help. Most of you are going to be coding, and if you've had data structures, that will help you. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. The second one is, does this weekly metric count actual merges, or will commits pending in pull merge request count? We want your contributions. We're hoping that you're going to make meaningful contributions, and that particularly if it's an RCOS project, one that was founded here, that you'll be working closely with your team and the project lead to be doing things that will not have a hard time getting pulled and merged into the repository. So they are certainly the preferred types of pulls. But some of you are going to come in without a lot of experience, and you're going to maybe have to do something like a lab notebook documenting different sources of information for where the next person in can find the information. And that may not have a good place particularly in an external repository. So we will accept those types of commits. We'll look at them. You'll have to give us a list of them at the end of the year so we know where to look and what to find. But we are pretty liberal in what we accept as open source commits. It has to be something that's put out in the public under an appropriate license and under appropriate vehicle, like an open repository. If you're hiding something in Google Docs and nobody can find it, and you need login permissions or viewing permissions to find it, that's not going to count. But most other commits can, and particularly if you're working on an external project, a project in the wild, sometimes the turnaround for pull requests on those can be extensive. So we certainly won't hold you to only those commits you make that get pulled into the repository. Make sense? I think that was the last question I saw. If anybody else has a question, please post it, because I'm not seeing any additional questions in there that I don't think were answered. So if there is another question, it's because I missed it.
New question was asked right now. I could take it.
Go, please.
Project pairing. So project pairing is a tricky thing. There's a handbook page on it just because of that. What it looks like while we're remote is we're still finalizing this, but probably after the second pitch day, right afterwards, what we do is we create Discord voice channels and text channels for all of the projects who have pitched. So that's all the projects that want new members. And we ask those project leads if they're available to hop into their voice channels, and any members that are looking for projects to hop in and chat with them about what their project is about, to figure out what they like, what they don't like. And this takes the place of what we used to do in the lecture room, where everyone would swarm to the front of the lecture hall at the bottom and try to go through a mess. So try and do that asynchronously, but we'll have, I think over a few days, we'll have the text channels open for you to talk with different project leads and figure out what's what. And hopefully you'll have an idea of what project you want to work on and by the time of that period. All the details of that are on the handbook page. If there is anything missing, please let me know. Hopefully that answers your question. And another question about, do you have to be in a group or can this be an individual project? We generally encourage group projects, but there have been individual projects before. There were a few last semester. We'd say lean towards group projects, but if that kind of decides whether or not you'll participate in RCOS, definitely go for individual projects. And can you do anything to contribute to a project that isn't program related? 100% yes. Touching on what Professor Turner mentioned earlier, code is important, but other non-code things are sometimes just as important, whether that's documentation, or pictures, or guides, or tutorials, or designs, or images, graphics, whatever it might be, as long as it's open source, and we get into more detail about what that looks like later on, but 100% yes. And can we join the Discord without connecting it to our school account? If you wouldn't like to connect your personal Discord to a school account, you can create a burner Discord account and use that. We just require that you go through the portal so that we can ensure that the only people on the RCOS server are RPI related people. And the processes for creating your own pitch project are in the handbook. I'll post the links in the server afterwards for all of that.
One thing to keep in mind is that we do have experienced projects going on Friday, along with some external projects. So you will see examples of the pitch process before you actually need to present one.
In terms of connecting your Discord account, I think it's also good to mention if you decide to connect an already existing personal Discord account, just make sure you go through all of your privacy settings and are aware of and careful of what you decide to share. After all, the RCOS Discord is an academic Discord and will be treated as an academic space, just as, we would in real life if we were meeting in person in the classroom. So, just a heads up.
Okay.
Of course, any other questions can go in the help desk channel on Discord, really anywhere. We'll always be open to answering.
All right. So I guess that's not bad. We got through in about 55 minutes. I'm going to get off the ladder. I'll go in my swim. Yeah, I'll go in my swim trunks. We've got about a couple inches already. So, welcome to RCOS. I know this is not the structured class that you guys are probably used to, but I think if you talk to some of the more experienced students, the people who've been here a couple of times, they're here again because it's fun, and it's a good way to explore projects and technologies that you may not be able to find at RPI outside of some independent study. RCOS, the class part of RCOS is essentially an umbrella over a bunch of independent studies. In previous semesters, you would actually have to submit a URP with RCOS as the guiding office. We've kind of formalized this with the SIS, with the registrar, so you don't need to do that anymore. But that's the mindset you should go into this course with it. This is an independent study. You're going to learn from your peers and from yourself, and certainly anything I can do to help you learn, or anything the coordinators or Professor Goldschmidt can do to help you learn. We'll do that. We're here for that. That's part of what we want to see from you. But this isn't something where we're going to give you a book and tell you to read it and learn this stuff. You're going to need to pick up a lot of things on your own and find the right questions to ask so we can actually help you. Welcome. It's a hectic semester. RCOS is always a little hectic. This semester being off campus is probably worth a little worse, but we will persevere and we will do great things. And if you guys, any of you become a billionaire in the next 10 years because of something you learned in RCOS, we're still asking for at least a table and chair someplace that we can call a lounge. So you can always donate to us afterward when you're a billionaire. Thanks. Anything else, guys?
That's it for me. Welcome, everyone, especially the new folks.
All right. We're letting you out a little early. So, use this time to kind of think about what you might want to do for a project. And we'll see you all on Friday. It's really important. We're not taking attendance today and Friday, but it's really important that you pay attention and show up, because the projects we present are going to be the things that you're going to have to join on next Friday, so or earlier. So you need to be, we move fast, so you need to kind of be involved in that. All right, thank you.
You look like you're in Troy, Professor Turner.
I know.
The-
Yeah, I was running. I have a bunch of these. This was around the holidays.
Oh, nice.
And then this was when I'm feeling cold. So we will see you guys all. We'll see you all in a few days, and keep warm. There was somebody who wanted to talk to me, and I'm blanking on the name. I'm going to hold out here for a few minutes.